Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to thank and pay our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. Hi everyone, and welcome to Room by Room, the Home Organization Science Insights podcast, produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We're champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element, with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I'm your host, Gabriella Yastra, coming to you from Naarm, Melbourne, Australia. Let's begin.
Welcome back to Room by Room, the Home Organization Science Insights podcast. I'm your temporary host, Marie, and in today's episode, we're exploring a topic that's not only about tidying up, but also about embracing sustainability and conscious consumption. Like, have you ever wondered how to transform your living space while minimizing waste? How can we declutter our homes without adding to landfill? To answer these questions, we'll be guided by an expert organizer who is passionate about zero waste, Lauren West. Hi, Lauren. Lovely having you on the show.
Hi, Marie. Thanks so much for having me.
How are you going today?
Great. I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Well, I'm really curious to know how did you find your footing as an organizer, and how do you incorporate your passion for zero waste into your work?
Well, thanks for asking. This is my favorite thing to talk about. I have done a lot of different jobs yesterday was my birthday, actually. I just turned 52.
Wow, congratulations. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Congratulations feels right. And over the years since, graduating from college, I've done so many different things, from corporate retail to working at an ad agency. I worked in a nonprofit and a bunch of different things, film production. I've been they were all different things. And throughout all those jobs that I had, one thing was always consistent for me, which was I was always passionate about trash. Like, what happens to these things when we're done with them? Walking on the street, or I live near the beach here in San Francisco, and I'm always fascinated with the garbage and where does this come from and where does it go? And at the tail end of the last job I had before I started this business, I was wondering yet again what I was going to do with my life. What was I meant to do? And I finally found it in the form of organizing. And when it dovetailed with my passion for zero waste and for trash, I just got chills all over my body. I realized, wow, this is really it. And at the time, this is now 7-8 years ago, Marie Kondo's book was on the New York Times bestseller, and people knew about organizing. I didn't even know that it was the thing. I just knew that I'd been doing it my whole life. That I'd go to a friend's house. She'd ask me to, grab something in her spice cabinet, and I'd say, "Hey, can I organize this a bit?" And she'd pour me another glass of wine and said, "Can you look at the linen closet?" And also doing little projects for family and such. And then realizing that it really fit the lifestyle that I was looking for. It was getting out from behind a computer. It was working with people intimately, really helping them. And then again, as I said, when I could dovetail it with finding new homes for all the things that people no longer wanted or needed, it was just, I heard the angels sing and realized that this is it. This is what I'm meant to be doing.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. I apologize for laughing before, because when you said I'm passionate about trash, I just envisioned a raccoon going into trash. And I was like, oh yeah, me too. And then I realized that you meant in a different way. But sometimes trash is relatable. Trash needs to be taken care of. Trash needs a home, and not to be discarded. Sometimes the trash that we discard isn't necessarily, something that we
Trash.
have to discard. Yeah, exactly. That's what we're getting at. So it's not so different after all. And thank you so much for sharing that incredible story. It sounds like you have this wide range of skill sets that helps you in your line of work now to this date. So that's amazing to hear, and it's also a great preface for our topic for today. But before we get further into detail, we'd like to get to know you a bit better as well. This is Have You Met Lauren West? My first question for you is, what is your favorite sport at home?
Sport at home.
Sorry, sports.
A spot. I was like, sport at home. Where does my favorite spot at home? I mean, for organizing?
Well, in general, like, where do you like to spend most of your time at home?
Oh, what a fun question. I like to be in my bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I get in bed or even on the bed, I just feel like I'm in my cocoon.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
I'm protected.
Yeah.
Nobody can touch me from here. I mean, it's just, it's my little personal nest, my cozy nest with my cat and my dog and my family.
Yeah, for sure. That's literally what the bed's for as well. I do find it's a bit of a struggle sometimes to leave the bedroom on some days, but that's where you're meant to do most of your nesting, your resting. So that makes a lot of sense. And it's also most likely where you put most of your personal decor and your personal items. So my next question for you is, what chore do you enjoy doing the most, and which chore do you enjoy doing the least?
Yeah, just framing it as a chore makes it interesting. What do I enjoy doing the least? Cleaning.
Cleaning, like in general?
Anything. Yeah, I don't like to clean.
That's fair.
At all. But I would say if I had to get specific, cleaning the bathroom would be my least favorite of everything.
Yeah, for real. The fact that we're meant to clean our bathrooms once a week actually kind of puts me off, just because it's like how there's so many chores that we need to do in a week, right? Most of us work 5 days a week, 9 to 5. We have 2 days of rest, and 1 day is meant to be spent in the toilet. Like, do we really have to clean it once a week? I'm sure if like multiple people are using the bathroom, then that's fair. So which do you enjoy doing the most?
Yeah, what I enjoy doing the most is what I call filing.
Ooh.
Which is, it's, when you take out, you have to wrap a present or something, or you need to fix something with glue, or you take these things out from their places, and then I don't put them back right away, just too busy or whatever, but I put them all in a basket, and then I take the basket, and usually once it's overflowing, to be honest, and put it all back.
Yeah.
And I call it filing. And it's one of the techniques we use for organizing, because I think it's just a real category.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've never done this before. So that might be something that I incorporate into my own like cleaning up routine as well. Because like my cleaning up routine is essentially like the same thing without a basket. Like I don't have a basket for it. So it just lies there until it absolutely cannot be left there anymore. And then it goes back into where it's meant to be. So the basket thing would work exceptionally in holding it all together. But I wonder,
it's just, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, I wonder, like, does it give you more room to procrastinate that putting back of things?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think it does in a good way.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't really have to go back unless there's other people using it and they'd be looking for it.
Right.
It doesn't really have to go back. And I just find that everybody is so busy. Lives are so busy. I was going to say these days. I don't know. Have they always been like that? I don't know. But it's also such a busy life, and to have a place to put it. Sometimes if I'm looking for the thing and it's not where it's supposed to be, I look in the basket and oh yeah, there it is. Or sometimes there's things in there that I forgot I put in there, and but I wasn't even looking for them, but I was like, oh yeah, there's that thing. I would be delighted if you used this technique. I would feel I don't know, vindicated or
I will vindicate you.
Satisfied.
Yes. How big is this basket that you have?
It's not very big. It's one of those straw baskets with the handle and the little leather.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know what
yeah.
I mean?
Like a picnic basket.
It's not very big. Maybe 12 or 14 inches in diameter with a little bulbous.
And that's for a household of multiple people as well. So I assume that mine would probably be a bit smaller if I were to like size it down, just to be realistic. Because like one person to that big of a basket, that's giving myself way too much room, to like procrastinate.
Well, maybe you're more disciplined than I am, and you would do it as a part of right after you clean the bathroom.
I doubt so. I highly doubt so. Like, I want to say yes and be optimistic about it, but I feel like I know myself enough now to be like, no, that's not going to happen. Let's be realistic here and not like set my expectations too high. And then I also won't get disappointed. But yeah, thank you so much for telling me about that. That's really interesting and my first time hearing about it. So that's definitely something I'm going to test out for myself. So aside from household activities, what movie have you enjoyed recently? Are there any that you've been into?
Let's see. I love film. I used to work in film, so I love to watch movies, and actually went yesterday. Yesterday's Monday, and I took for my birthday. My husband was out of town, and I took my son, who's almost 12. I was like, let's go to the movies. So we saw Argyle.
Oh my God. I really want to go see it. How did you find it?
I really enjoyed it. There were a lot of twists and turns, and it was in a new theater with the recliner seats and a huge bowl of popcorn and my son by my side. It was great. I loved when the lights go down in the theater. It's one of my happy places. So.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to watching that now because from what I know, the author of the book isn't very well known. And so there's this huge mystery behind the movie. So that's really interesting. I don't know. And there's a lot of imagery tied to Taylor Swift. There's just very Swift-esque motifs. And I don't think it's tied to Taylor Swift at all. I think it's just marketing or something like that. But
I don't even know the connection with Taylor Swift.
Oh, you didn't know her?
No.
I thought that was the first thing people would know. That's this huge thing after the podcast. Go look it up. Like so many people like, oh my God, this is the author is Taylor Swift. I can't find an Ellie Conway anywhere. And I was just like, I don't think so. I highly doubt it is. But there was this huge blow up because of that. So that's really interesting.
I will check it out.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm genuinely interested in the plot itself. If you had to like sell this movie in one sentence, what would you say?
I would say beautiful people with twists and turns, and undoubtedly a sequel to follow.
I love a good sequel, and I love twists and turns, and who doesn't love beautiful people, unless
right?
So, yeah. Definitely
and
on the
beautiful
watch list.
Scenery as well. Yeah.
Oh, great. That sounds amazing. Definitely going on the watch list. So my last question for you is, do you have a role model either in your professional life or your personal life?
Role model. I feel really blessed that I have a group of friends that really are my role models.
Oh,
They are highly successful people. And I guess success is sort of objective. Like, what does that really mean? But they're just high functioning people that are good parents. They are nice people and they really like to have fun.
yeah.
And I look up to them. They just seem very well rounded and a good role models. I
Yeah.
think they are. Never thought of them in that way, but thinking about that question, there isn't one person that has a typical role model sort of status, but my girlfriends that are
Yeah.
just rock stars in so many ways.
That is so sweet. And those are the kinds of people that you want to surround yourself with as well. People who live their life to the fullest, people who inspire you every single day to do the same. So that's really nice to hear. It's great to hear that, you have such a great group of friends. So what do you guys do when you hang out?
Oh, let's see. Eat and drink and listen to music. We go see a lot of live music. We have a handful of friends that are professional musicians.
Oh, wow.
And we go to music festivals and each other's homes, creative endeavors, out on the town, whatever.
That is so cool. Creative endeavors with a group of close friends is like the best kind of friendship you can ask for. Like, honestly, just like little creatures just surrounding each other and like crafting little things. So cute. I love that.
Yes.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for telling us a bit more about you. I feel like we got to know you a bit better. And now we'll move on to the interview section. And my first question for you is, how would you define home organization?
Yeah. It's a good question because I think it's really subjective. When we first start a conversation with somebody who's interested in working with us, I always ask them in one way or another, kind of in your mind's eye in a blue sky exercise, like what is the kitchen or the garage or the office or the whatever area we're talking about? What does it look like to you? And what's a perfect scenario? Because some people might want the counters all clear and some people might want 6 kitchen gadgets on their counters. And to that, no one is right or wrong. It's really subjective to the individual. For me personally, and the way that I guide with my clients is that everything has a place. There's that French phrase, mise en place, like everything has a place. Whether or not it's in its place at all times is a different story. I don't think that that's a practical standard. Because of course you have the filing basket, but and you use your stuff. What's the point in having this stuff if you're not using it? So you take it out and you put it back. But the idea is, in my mind, that everything has a place to go, and that's continues to evolve. Especially people with young kids or people who bring a lot of things into their living space because things have different shapes. So now you're cooking less and you're doing more crafts. And so you need to find a place for those things. So it's really an ever-moving target.
Yeah.
That's not what I mean to say. It's I can't think of the right word for it. It's like, hang on, give me a second. Let me think of there's a really good word for this. But I can't think of it. Yeah, maybe it's an ever-moving target of puzzle pieces. So the way that we look at it being the way that we look at organization in the home is like a puzzle. So people always ask, should I buy a rack? Should I buy the bins? No, don't buy anything because I don't know what you need to store yet. So we come in and we'll help them to purge, which is to decide what they're going to keep. But curate is maybe a nicer word. The things that they no longer want, need, or use, go with us to be rehomed, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit. And then the rest of the things, here's what's left. Okay, so what are you using more often, and where should we put that? And if you don't drink, like this woman that I spoke to earlier today, your booze should not be in a drawer that's in prime real estate. So that it's a lot of puzzling of figuring out, according to an individual's needs and wants, where things should go and how they should look.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It sounds like with home organization, there's a lot of this hierarchy that you've got to think about in terms of like where things go. And it's a lot more than like putting things in drawers haphazardly, essentially, and putting things like randomly out of sight, out of mind. Because, the home is where you are most of the time now, especially with work from home, and you are bound to have like a standard operating procedure. And if everything's just in drawers without like hierarchy of any sort, then there's like, it doesn't really make much sense for the procedure. And then also your hierarchies change all the time depending on like if you're starting a family from pre-family, that would change too. So it's really interesting to think about. But how would you personally define zero waste and waste minimization? I've always wanted to ask also if zero waste meant like absolutely no waste at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really good question. Zero waste to us means that very little goes into the landfill. And I like to use the word landfill because I think it's really important for people to understand that, there's these nebulous words of throw it away, get rid of it, toss it. There's a whole list of them. But really what it means is it's getting thrown in a bag and into the back of a truck and then going into landfill. Okay. So to avoid landfill is what we mean by zero waste. I live in San Francisco and the Bay Area. We have a lot of resources for successfully doing that. The only things that we can't prevent from going to landfill are mold. Found a pair of moldy sandals in the back of a closet.
There's no way you can reuse that.
There is nothing we can do about that. We took a picture. They were like fascinating. Mold is so interesting. It's
at that
mold,
point, sorry, at that point, I feel like you'd be more concerned with your health.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's like grab them with gloves or a bag
Wear
and
mask.
kind of wrap it up like like that. So that's a deal breaker, and that's definitely going to landfill. And particle board furniture beyond reuse or repurpose. Sometimes you can take the shelves and do something out of them, but particle board is not reusable.
Yeah. So
don't buy particle board.
What is particle board?
It's like a composite of different things. Recently we were at a place where they had a desk that was disassembled and the desk was upturned and where the screws went in, part of it chunked out. So you couldn't get the screws into it because it was just, it's firm, but it's not good enough to do with anything else. And you can't put it in the wood. It can't be composted because there's so many layers of different things in it. So it's just trash.
Oh.
So those are the things that are immediately, if you have a place filled with broken particle board furniture, and moldy things, we're not going to achieve zero waste, but the rest of it we can, for the most part. The other way that we sort of define zero waste is by rehoming goods to their highest and best use. And that's when we talk about rehoming, I love this phrase. I first heard it many years ago in relation to an animal, to a pet was a dog and my neighbor got a dog and something had happened with the dog. I don't know if the dog bit somebody but she has little kids and she said, I can't, we have to rehome the dog. So the dog went to live on a farm in Sonoma or something.
Yeah.
And I never really thought much about it. But then I don't know how I started using it, but to me, that is so the right word with what we're going to do with anything anybody doesn't want, need, or use. That is the umbrella term that means donate, recycle, compost, upcycle, anything we can give it away, anything we can do to find a new home for these goods.
Yeah.
Just because somebody doesn't want it anymore doesn't mean that it's junk or worthy of getting tossed, thrown out, gotten rid of. Yeah. So looking for the next highest good and the highest and best use is really part of the zero waste mission of the company. And I'm happy to elaborate on that because there's a lot of different ways in which we do that.
Yeah, for sure. So what are some key principles that you employ when working with clients to achieve that zero waste transformation in their living spaces?
Creativity.
Ooh,
Sometimes
I like that.
I love to cite this example. We had a client who she was in her early 70s. She'd been living in San Francisco a while. She wanted to move back to Massachusetts. And it was actually, she hired us right before COVID, and then it was a shutdown. And then months later, when we were finally able to go back to work, we got to it. But every single time I spoke to her over those months that we weren't working, and the initial meeting and every follow-up meeting, she said, what are we going to do with that cradle? And it was an antique rocking cradle that had this beautiful story about her children were in their 50s at this point. But when she was pregnant, she went to an antique store with her husband out of town, miles from where they lived. And she admired it. It was a rocking cradle with a horsehair mattress and a canopy. And long story short, he bought it for her and it was shipped to the house and it arrived there and she was delighted and they kept it there and she put both of her babies in it. And then after that, neither one of her kids had grandkids. And she had multiple cats that had lived in it and, slept in it. And then she said, what am I going to do with this thing? Nobody's going to put their baby in it.
Yeah.
And I don't have any more cats. I don't want to move it to the East Coast. What do you think we should do? And I basically said, I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out. And I don't know how it came to me, but I remembered there's a boutique baby store, kids store that's sort of fancy and shishy and a beautiful room. And I called them and emailed them pictures and said, do you want this cradle to use as a display? She said yes. And I said, okay, let me check with the client. I checked with the client. She was delighted. The owner of the shop was delighted. I was delighted. And it worked beautifully. And every once in a while, I put my head in there and it's still there. And they use it as a display.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So, yeah. It was just kind of creativity. So that's just kind of, we use that lens. Like, okay, we had another project that had PVC pipes that were maybe 12 or 16 inches long and I don't know, 6 inches in diameter. And there were like 70 of them. Like, what are we going to do with these things? So we do a lot of posting on the Buy Nothing groups, which is something I wanted to be sure to mention here. Everybody can look up Buy Nothing Project. It's a global project. A community, a regional community where you can post things to give away or things to share or things to that you're looking for. I've seen up there, lemons from my tree or, can I borrow a dehumidifier or I have 75 PVC pipes to give. Nobody wanted them. And eventually we figured out that I had seen a truck, one of the Parks and Recreation trucks was using these pipes in the back of the pickup trucks to hold tools. So one of my team, I told her the idea and she said, I know somebody that works in Park and Rec and they took them.
That's awesome. These are great stories.
Yeah.
That's so innovative. I had no idea that there's so many ways to approach this. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know what it was that like I just didn't think that even going to like looking out for these things where like, okay, someone uses the same thing that I don't want anymore. I can reach out to them and offer them this. Like, I just never thought that that was something that I could do. But like, why wouldn't you be able to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's other benefits to it. You meet your neighbors. Somebody will stop by and pick something up, and then I'll see them, at the park the next day. And not that we're going to become best friends, but it cultivates community, which I love also.
Yeah, that's great, and especially the story about how you rehomed that cradle to that, was it a baby store or like a maternity store? Yeah, that's amazing because the previous owners could easily travel back and have a look at if they're feeling sentimental, they can drop by, they can visit it. So that's amazing because sometimes you get sentimental about some of your objects, even though them lying in the corner isn't really the best use for it. And then so knowing that there's somewhere that you can go to visit it once in a while just kind of puts you at ease and while giving it the best use possible. So that's so creative. What are some challenges though when it comes to trying to be this creative about zero waste?
Yes, there are some challenges for sure. And I really appreciate that you mentioned that because the client said, when I come back to San Francisco, I will visit the cradle. And I believe that she did. This is a couple of years ago, and we're just still in touch. There are some challenges to it for sure, which is time and patience. Sometimes it takes a while for the items to find their new owner. So, if people have to move quickly, the moving truck's coming and they've got this thing, that can be a challenge. I always advise people to get ahead of, posting things so that they give themselves the gift of time on that and patience. Sometimes you just want it out. Those are real challenges. Also space for storing stuff. That can be a challenge too. I fortunately have a garage here, and I take things back, and they await their new destiny here. But we don't always have that opportunity. Either they're too big to fit in the car, or again the timing. Yeah. So those are real challenges.
And what are your go-to solutions or considerations when it comes to these? At what point do you say like, okay, now it's not feasible to hold this any longer, and this really like we can't really wait for someone to come pick it up?
Well, before we get to that point, I always say put it up on Buy Nothing, or we will help people do that. Put it up on Buy Nothing. Put it on Facebook Marketplace for free. Who in your community can you think of? For me, it's my son went to a co-op preschool that's been here for 60 years, so the listserv is really large. Yeah. I also have another community here that's also really large. Your places of worship, your things that you're passionate about, and groups that you know about. Next door are also good things. So go. Once you write the post, you may as well put it everywhere. Yeah. And there's also techniques to writing a good post and making sure that you fully disclose everything and include a lot of details so people can really get a sense of the thing. And that's, of course, if it can't be donated. I think that people they both overestimate and underestimate donations. There was a great article that was called NPR doesn't want, or not NPR. There was a great article that was called Goodwill doesn't want your broken toaster, which is really true. Yeah. I mean, don't send people their junk. If you wouldn't offer it to somebody you don't know well, then don't try to donate it. But there are resources all over the world for places you can recycle or donate building supplies, eyeglasses, paint, bicycles. I mean, the list goes on and on. So I think it's a reframing of the way that we think about our stuff.
Yeah.
You know, again, just because you don't want it doesn't mean that nobody wants it.
Yeah. It's also a different story when you tell your friends, hey, I have this toaster. It's a bit funky. There's this issue with it, but it works. It functions like relatively well. It does its job. And letting them know rather than like just tossing it at Goodwill, because Goodwill, I assume, has like like a policy like that they have to adhere to when it comes to accepting items. So it's a different story when you're telling your friends or posting it online and disclaiming that there are these faults with a certain item, and giving detail on that and letting people volunteer to take it off your hands than to dump it at Goodwill.
Right.
So
we had an Instant Pot. We had an Instant Pot that a client had. She just said, I know I'm not going to fix it, but it needs a new fuse. And you can get the fuses. She just said,
can't be
too
bothered.
busy. I'm not going to do that. So we posted it, and it took a while, but somebody came and picked it up, and we just said, needs a new fuse. And I'm just going to assume that somebody got it fixed, and now they're using it.
Yeah, because you'll never know. People might could maybe have a fuse lying around or have a solution for that they are willing to put themselves through. So, it's always worth putting it online from what I'm hearing.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that's really interesting. I've actually, before this, I've never considered doing that before. Yeah. Like I've always thought like either I'm donating most of the items that I donate are really just clothes. So I either just donate them to someone or like our version of Goodwill, which is Salvo, Salvation Army, or Savers. And that's pretty much it. But also, like, how do you deal with like a large volume of items that you need to declutter? Because I have a very, very packed wardrobe, and it's taking me like a lot of motivation. It's taking all the motivation that I have inside of me to be like, okay, let me snap the photos and put them online and see who wants it,
Right. I would say for the clothes, books, shoes, housewares, if they're in good enough condition, just donate them to your local place.
Yeah.
Only use the posting for the things that can't be donated, because it does require a lot of back and forth frequently.
Yeah, and
that's why I say you want to be very particular about how you post it, what you say in the post, to cut back on the back and forth.
Right.
Because that can get very time consuming.
Yeah, the more detail you put out initially, the less you'll have to deal with in terms of communication and asking questions. So that's a very, very good tip. Now, with regards to storage solutions, are there any eco-friendly ones or like eco-friendly products that you recommend to those who might be interested in adopting zero waste principles in their homes? I know you mentioned previously, zero waste principles, the idea is like you don't buy extra items, but this is kind of like from the perspective of someone who's moving in, starting with like a blank slate. They have nothing to buy. What like materials should they look out for when it comes to storage solutions and like furniture or something to kind of minimize that's
right.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, all good. So I don't like to buy anything new. I mean, aside from food and undergarments and things. So my friends and I do clothing swaps a couple of times a year. There's a lot of places to get furniture that's been pre-loved, sport gear that's been pre-loved. Wait, we're talking about organizing. Even the Salvation Army and Goodwill Savers, those places have a lot of organizing. I call it infrastructure.
Yeah.
But what I would say is start with what you have. If you have a shoebox, use that and see if it's working. Like iPhone boxes, I'm just looking right here got chocolates from my birthday. Like this little box, it was the lid to a chocolate box. This is perfect for inside drawers. And we all get these little boxes all the time. You know, those iPhone boxes are great. I always collect them from clients who keep them and then decide they don't need them, because you can put a bunch of them inside a drawer and if they're all white and uniform.
Yes, iPhone boxes are so great. I also really like shoe boxes for like up top in your cupboards, and you can like kind of separate into different categories for like smaller items, and you can just like label them and just pick them out.
Yes, exactly. That's the idea. It's just reuse what you have, even a cardboard box or anything. And then you know it's working. And if you want something that looks uniform, or that, you know, that's just the look that you want, just get something renewable. Bamboo, metal. Just I don't discourage people from getting new plastic. There's just so much plastic in the world, and I live so close to the beach, and right now, I don't know why, but we're having a lot of plastic on the beach. So many bottle caps and little plastic particles. And it just reminds me, I was down there earlier today, and it just reminded me of, you know, when you're down there and you see the plastic bits, straws, what does it remind you that you're using? And do you really need to use it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
A lot of bottle caps, a lot of straws, a lot of plastic bags.
Yeah, for sure. And to your previous points, I actually have been like skulking around thrift stores lately and seeing that, well, like different thrift stores, probably depending on what area you're in, specialize in different things. And I've seen quite a number of thrift stores that have such great like array of furniture, like really nice and old and really well built, because they are old and really good wood and in such great condition, going for like $99. Like I've seen pianos too. So why not get it from there? And you know, I understand it can be hard to like find these places, but if you know, look at the reviews of the thrift stores near you, you could get an idea, a feel of like what they offer, and you know, just pop in for a quick look-see, and potentially you could get your furniture from there, and it'll be a lot cheaper too.
It'll be cheaper, and there's no packaging.
Yeah, there's no packaging. Yes. And with older furniture, I have to stress again, the quality is so much better than whatever is out there on the market now or put out there more recently. So honestly, it's more value for money even.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that you shared that. I just was reading something earlier that said normalize secondhand.
Yeah. Secondhand is so
loved
good.
It. Yeah, it's great. And it also, another friend of mine says the joy of reuse. Mm-hmm. You know, I think the challenge for people in giving things away or saying goodbye to them is that they want someone to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. And so if they drop it off at Salvation Army, it doesn't feel good. You feel like you're just dropping it into a pit. But if Marie shows up at my door and I hand off to her something, you know, and she's like, you know, wow, this is so great. We're going to use this tonight.
Yeah.
That feels good to me.
Yeah. Like, and you know who you're giving it to as well, which, makes it kind of puts your mind at ease. So I do understand that. But my last question for you in this interview section is, do you have any recommendations for educational resources or tools on waste minimization and or zero waste?
Well, we're a little early, but I am writing a book.
What?
Yes. So,
Spill.
It's not, well, I mean, it's going to be on reframing our relationship to our stuff.
Mm-hmm. Is there a link that we can access?
Not yet, but there will be.
Okay.
We'll have a website as well for resources. As I said, here in our bubble of the Bay Area, we do have a lot of resources for places to bring myriad sort of categories of stuff. But there are also global and national resources, and I want people to know that. And I really want people to shift the way that they're thinking about procuring things, as you were saying about secondhand, and the quality of many pieces that were designed to last, and also what we do with our things when we no longer want them. I resent the junk haulers even calling it junk. That just feels disrespectful to why
Yeah,
why would
I
it
know.
be
I totally get what you mean. I know there was a time that there was a point in time in my life where I would look at who I am now, being like, oh, what, like, junk is beautiful and all that kind of stuff. I would have looked at this person being like, oh, what a like hippie, what a like, know it all and stuff like that. But genuinely, now that I'm older and a bit more well educated, like, not all of the junk that you deem as junk is actually junk, like,
yeah.
So
Well, it's not. You're right.
yeah, it's really not junk. Like, what a lot of people consider junk is beautiful. Yeah. Have you
Absolutely.
ever, like, I know this is going a bit off topic, but have you ever visited like a trash compound where people go to like dump their trash?
Oh, I love it. I've been on the tour twice, 3 times.
Same. It is so
I
fun.
love them.
Yeah. And you can always like go to the different sections and check out what people have dumped and being like, oh, actually, I could use that.
Do you know there's a mall in Sweden that was started by the municipality there that's created out of everything people brought to dump? So, and they have different categories. Like there's, garden, there's home goods, there's vintage clothes, there's furniture. It's, I can't remember. Well, I don't know how to say it, really.
Yeah.
It's like Altoona or something like that. But isn't that fascinating?
That is so cool. That is fascinating. Like, I've got to go to Sweden now.
Like, let's go.
Yeah, that's amazing. But to go back to the question, what recommendations for educational resources do you have?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of people online who have zero waste blogs and things like that. Certainly Instagram is really good. I just learned about something called stooping, STOOPING, where people post in their particular area, city, whatever. Oh, there's a dresser on the corner of 49th and 7th. Like a, what do they call that? Ground score. My friend calls it a ground score, like just tipping people off to go grab something that they put out on the street.
Yeah.
I would say the social media and zero waste blogs, and there's a book. Actually, I meant to grab it before we started. I just got it from the library. I haven't read it yet.
And are there any books that you have read in the past that you think would be great for our audience to read now?
Right. Thank you for the question. I haven't read this, in full disclosure, but I just got it from the library and I'm excited to check it out. It's called Remodelista, The Low Impact Home by Margot Guralnick and Fan Winston. And the subtitle is A Sourcebook for Stylish, Eco-Conscious Living. And I know in particular that there's a couple pages that are really good resources for zero waste, rehoming.
I love books with spreads. That makes it so fun. Yeah, that sounds incredible. We'll link it in the show notes. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now we'll move on to the practices and habits section now. So you mentioned before that filing is a system that you use with the decluttering and the organizing at home. But what is a habit that you practice to manage your waste organization on a regular basis?
Right. In order to manage it on a regular basis, I'm always thinking about what the end of life is for any item that I buy before I buy it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a good example of that. I think about packaging. I think about how it's going to get to me. I think about the whole life cycle of the item. I like to purchase things from companies that have similar values to mine. There's a couple of sort of credentials that I look for. 1% for the planet, B Corp, cradle to cradle certifications. Those are companies that I know are really putting effort toward sustainability. They're not just talking about it. There isn't greenwashing there. They've put resources behind it, and it's something that they believe in, and frequently is something that's part of their mission and vision. So I purchase things from companies that I believe in. I buy secondhand whenever possible. I buy in bulk a lot, which is a bit of a labor of love. Takes extra time, but it's important to me. And simply, I shouldn't say simply, asking myself, like, do you really need that? For example, we got a dog recently, and my husband likes gear. So it was a leash, and it was a this, and it was that. Of course, you need a leash. But then there's a little pouch for treats, like when you're training a dog. And I was like, do we need that? I mean, what's wrong with a little bag that we already have? So it's those kinds of things.
Yeah. I totally feel you.
Do we need it?
Yeah. I totally feel you on the dog pouch thing, because I have a cat, and believe me when I say that my social media algorithm is just flooded with so many unnecessary gadgets for the cats. And I always get all these like shares through my account of like friends sharing that with me and being like, please buy this for your cats. And I'll be tempted, don't get me wrong. I'd be like, oh, that would be adorable. But also it's like really unnecessary. And I know that like it's actually more inconvenient to try and incorporate this into his regular life that like, and it's probably going to have like one use and then it's going to sit in a corner somewhere because it just takes more time to use it. And that's like the thought process that you have to go through. But what are the challenges that you face when doing these habits?
You don't get the immediacy of placing an order on Amazon and having it be there the next day.
Yeah.
If we also have a cat, and when we got a cat, we had them, and then we didn't have them, and we needed a litter box. And I said, I am not buying a new huge plastic tub. I'm just not doing it. And we ended up finding one. I found one on, I don't know, one of the posts. I don't know if it was Buy Nothing or Facebook Marketplace that had barely been used, and it looked fine. And it was a big plastic tub. And I think the woman even dropped it off.
Wow.
I think I bought it. And now I'm remembering it was, it wasn't free, which is fine. But I just couldn't bring myself to buy new plastic. I mean, plastic's an amazing product. It's amazing. Yeah. So it's a single use piece that breaks my heart and drives me nuts. Yeah. We never buy plastic bags for the business. A lot of organizers, when I was starting out, they would just grab big contractor bags and fill them with clothes that you were donating. There's so many bags already in the world that are not being used. I have so I have more than I can possibly use downstairs that are from jobs from other people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, you're a strong one, because I definitely, when it comes to my cat, sometimes I'm just like, I can't deal with this. I am buying this on Amazon. So I'm not quite there yet on your caliber, but I will aim to do so. It takes time.
it's a challenge. I mean,
Yeah.
I honestly, it's I don't judge anybody who and do I order from Amazon every now and again? Yeah, I definitely do. You know, you need the thing, and also it's hard to get things
Yeah.
at your local. They just the breadth of products. I mean, it's unbelievable. But it's I think it's thinking about the end, what you're going to do with all the things after. You know, it's the box. You're going to recycle the box, and then it comes in a package and comes in styrofoam, and it comes in all the things.
Yeah.
What are you going to do
sure.
with all that?
Yeah. It's probably something to consider. Like, that's a very huge consideration too. Like, okay, if you're going to buy a new plastic, how long are you going to use it for? And that might help at least to, like, so if you know that you're going to use it for a long time, that can maybe justify getting it single use if you really have to get it like ASAP. But yeah, that's a very interesting perspective on it. So are there any other habits or practices that you'd recommend people employing or integrating into their lives alongside the one that you've just shared with us?
I would say ask your friends for things and rent and borrow and rent. I needed some spray paint for this small project, and I just asked a bunch of people and thought, okay, now it's annoying. I really want to get this done. And right before I was getting ready to buy a can, my friend said, I have some black, I have some black matte spray paint. So it came through. It was like the patience. It's the again, I can't think of the right word. The immediate gratification, instant gratification.
Yeah.
It's the instant gratification that you have to kind of let go of. And, you know, maybe there's something, maybe that project just needed to wait a week or two.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
And like, honestly, I feel like, well, a couple of years ago, I was still very into that. Like, I have to get that instant gratification because, like, items that I buy can't reject me like humans can, okay? But, you know, addressing that, like, maybe it's gone a bit off topic, but maybe addressing that psychological issue can help because now I don't have so much a problem with it. It's more about like time and convenience. And it's also, if you stop to think a bit about the life cycle of your items and you get more selective about what items you buy, where you buy them from, you just treasure them a bit more. And naturally, you are bound to just keep or buy less things because you genuinely treasure the things that you have at home. It's like it will become natural as you kind of go along the journey, you know, like, so that's really interesting to think about. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's right. I think we are oppressed by our stuff, a lot of us. I mean, the fact that professional organizing is a thing that you need, that we as humans need help managing our stuff. And I don't know what the numbers are of the storage units in the world, but it's pretty staggering. I heard a statistic recently that I don't remember, but it was something about people's, storage units, and then the amount of stuff that is already produced, like, can't fit on the surface of the earth.
Yeah. Oof.
That's bonkers.
It is.
That to me is just bonkers.
Yeah.
And I don't want to judge anybody. But I don't understand all these little products that are for something so specific. Like, we see things in people's homes that I was like, oh, I didn't know that existed. There's a plastic container that's built to hold a banana so that your banana doesn't get squished in your lunch. Okay.
Do bananas like generally get squished though?
Yeah, they get squished in your bag.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and it's a mess.
No idea.
But maybe you don't bring a banana for lunch. I'm just
Or
saying.
like maybe you just hold it in your hand or
You just walk around the banana.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Find a box for it that isn't banana shaped because, like, unless, okay, like, I don't know. Maybe if you do genuinely bring a banana to work every single day, maybe, perhaps. But also, aren't bananas like different sizes and shapes? So, like, how would that work? I've seen it before.
Yeah.
I'm just really thinking about it now.
Yeah. See, that versus the container that they make for going camping to hold eggs. Like that I could get behind.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That makes sense to me. I have one, but only because the client was getting rid of it. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll throw that in the camping kit, which I just came across the other day. Also like an avocado slicer. It just makes me scratch my head. Like, why don't you just use a knife?
Just use a knife.
Yeah.
And also, like, can't you slice an avocado slicer, like an avocado with, I don't know, an egg slicer? Could you do the same thing? Or maybe it's a different shape. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with a knife. And it's funny. I think about these things a lot because I don't want to begrudge anybody their, $1 million idea. And, that's their creativity, their entrepreneurism. But I just want us to think about the earth.
Yeah.
And the resources that we have here.
Yeah.
And the next generation.
Yeah.
Like,
there's with some of these gadgets, I think like they are probably justifiable for a very select group of people who maybe might be really particular with how like thick or thin or how uniform their avocado slices are, and maybe they have avocado like every single day. Like, okay, that would make a bit of sense, and that's fair. And also like the person who created it might have been really passionate about it, and that's fair. But then there's like generally a group of people who are just like, I've got to have all these weird innovations at home, and it's so cheap to buy them, I might as well have them because convenience. And that's when it's kind of like, okay, but you don't actually need it, so that's probably like they're like there's just a lot of disconnection in like the entire life cycle of these products sometimes. And so that's really interesting to think about.
I think convenience is a good word there, because that's really the convenience of Amazon, and the instant gratification is really is something that is hard to give up for many people. And I get that because it's a busy life. But I just want us to have a little bit perspective on the future.
Yeah,
for
future
sure. Generations.
Is that a cat?
That's my cat.
That is a cat.
Yeah.
What is your cat's name?
Come here, Reg. That's Reggie.
Oh, Reggie. Hello, Reggie. Thank you for joining the show. So I believe we're done with the practices and habits section. So we're moving on to the open mic section, and this is your chance to talk about anything that you're passionate about. If you have anything else that you wanted to add, or if you'd like to talk about Reggie even, feel free to do that. The floor is yours. Take it away.
Okay. This is a fun question. I appreciate your allowing time for it. Things I'm passionate about. Reggie, my cat. Mm-hmm. And we have a new rescue dog, Billy, who's super sweet and sleeping over there. I'm passionate about the beach and, everything on, we just talked about the earth and all her creatures, great and small.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about music. I love it. I'm a bit of an amateur DJ.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
DJ's a stretch. I'm a compiler of I'm a playlist compiler, because I can't really do anything with. I don't really mix. Although I have ideas to mix, the technology seems a little frustrating for me. But I just love music. There was always music on in our house. And
Yeah. What are your favorite genres?
Reggae.
Oh,
I really love. There's a great show on here on Wednesday afternoons. Today is not Wednesday, no. That I love to listen to. That's like old songs that you wouldn't necessarily know, that I don't know. I like soul music. I like not so much pop, maybe, but the music from the 80s and 90s from when I was growing up. Funk.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nice mix there.
I like them
Yeah.
all. I like them all.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like them all. That's not true.
Nice.
I don't really like it so heavier.
Yeah. Nice mix there. And are there any what are your favorite beaches to go to?
Well, I'm from New Jersey, which gets a bad rap, but it's beautiful there, and I do love the beaches there. That's home.
Yeah.
I love my beach here in California.
Yeah.
I feel like every beach I've ever been on.
Yeah, really.
It's my favorite beach. Well, I just love them all. It's like where I feel the most at peace.
Yeah. The waves are always really calming.
Yeah, even when they're big and scary. It's just it puts it in perspective for me, I think. And you look out, it doesn't even matter if it's the ocean or a lake or any body of water, but you look out and it's a life all its own underneath the surface of the water, and usually a large expanse. It just feels like it puts my worries and my walk of life in perspective.
For sure. It's kind of like the reason people like going into nature as well, and being amongst the towering trees. It's kind of like it puts everything in perspective. It calms your anxiety down a bit. And I can definitely appreciate that myself too. I love going to the beach during winter because no one's there, mainly. But also it's just, well, it doesn't get that cold here, so it's still pleasant. It's still at a pleasant temperature, like 4 degrees is fine. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your expertise as well as sharing a bit about yourself. I had such a pleasure talking to you. If our listeners want to find out more about you and what you do, where can they go?
Right. If they want to find out more, Instagram is great. Next High is good. And also our website.
All right. Amazing.
nexthighsgood.com. Yeah.
We'll link those in the show notes. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Thanks, Marie.
You've been listening to Room by Room, produced by the Home Organization Science Labs, a division of LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. More episodes like this from across 10 life management perspectives can be found by searching LMSL on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and other podcasting apps available on your smart devices. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating our show, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, as it helps other people find it so we can grow and bring you more quality resources. More of our work can be found on our website at ho.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Gabriella Yastra. Thanks for tuning in.